Hey everybody, today we're going to take a look at the last time each state elected a Republican for governor. I already took a look at this for the Dems, but today we're going to see the most recent time a state's chief executive was a Republican. Plenty of states already have one in office right now, but other states go back 20, 30 years or more. So we've got 5 tiers of shading here, and we're going to go through each state alphabetically. So let's start in Alabama. Well, this state already has an incumbent Republican, Kay Ivey. Alaska also has incumbent Mike Dunleavy. In Arizona, we don't have to go back far. Two-term Governor Doug Ducey was last elected in 2018. Arkansas has incumbent Sarah Huckabee Sanders. How about California? Well, before Gavin Newsom and Jerry Brown's second tenure, the last Republican elected here was Arnold Schwarzenegger in 2006. He also won the recall election before that. So it's still been less than 20 years since California had Republican leadership. In Colorado, we've got to go back just a little bit further. 2002 was when Bill Owens was reelected to his second term. In Connecticut, we're going to stick with the same decade. In 2006, that was when Jody Rell won her full term. In Delaware, we've got to go back the furthest yet. It's been a long time here. We're going to go back to the 1980s. In 1988, Mike Castle won re-election. Ever since then, Republicans have been dry here. In Florida and Georgia, they have incumbent Republicans right now. Hawaii is a very blue state, but they actually did have a 2-term Republican governor. Linda Lingle won her final term in 2006. Idaho has incumbent Brad Little, and in Illinois, another blue state, we don't have to go back that far. 2014, single-term Governor Bruce Rauner won it for the GOP. Indiana and Iowa have Mike Braun and Kim Reynolds. In Kansas, the last elected Republican was Sam Brownback in 2014. In Kentucky, they've only had 2 Republican governors in the past 50-plus years. Both of them were single-term, and the last one was Matt Bevin in 2015. Louisiana has Jeff Landry. Now we've got some traditionally bluer states. We've got Maine, and this state had 2-term Governor Paul LePage, last elected in 2014. In the same decade in Maryland, Larry Hogan pulled it off in the blue wave of 2018. And in Massachusetts, Charlie Baker also did it in the same year. In the Rust Belt, Michigan, before Gretchen Whitmer, there was 2-term Governor Rick Snyder, last elected in 2014. In Minnesota, we've got to go back another decade. 2-term Governor Tim Pawlenty last won election in 2006. Mississippi has incumbent Tate Reeves. Missouri has incumbent Mike Kehoe. Montana has incumbent Greg Gianforte. Nebraska has Jim Pillen. Nevada, Joe Lombardo. New Hampshire, Kelly Ayotte. Then we've got New Jersey, and this state famously re-elected Chris Christie in a landslide back in 2013. In New Mexico, they also had a 2-term Republican governor. Susana Martinez last did it in 2014. How about the Empire State, New York? Well, for this, we've got to go back to 2002. That was the year George Pataki won his 3rd consecutive term. In the Tar Heel State, North Carolina was last won by Republican Pat McCrory in 2012. North Dakota, Ohio, and Oklahoma all have incumbent Republican governors. What about all the way on the West Coast in the blue state of Oregon? For this one, we've got to go back the farthest yet. It's back in the 80s, the early 80s, 1982. The name might not sound familiar, but that was when Victor Atia won re-election. So a massive drought here in Oregon. In Pennsylvania, 2010 was when Tom Corbett won his first and only term. In Rhode Island, 2-term Governor Don Carcieri won re-election last in 2006. South Carolina has Henry McMaster. South Dakota has Larry Roden. We've also got incumbents in Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Vermont, and Virginia. What about in Washington State? Well, this state has the longest Republican drought out of all 50. For this, you've got to go slightly further back than Oregon. This is going to be 1980. And John Spellman won his only term, and that was the last time a Republican was in the governor's mansion in this state. West Virginia has Patrick Morrisey in office. In Wisconsin, Scott Walker last won election in 2014. And Wyoming has current Governor Mark Gordon. So that's it. That's how the map looks. So the biggest drought for the Dems is in South Dakota. That was back in the 70s, but it's not much better for the Republicans in Washington at 1980. Other than that, some of these states might be due once you hit 20 or more years without a Republican in office. So it's fun to go back through and take a look at these droughts. You might not think Delaware, Washington, and Oregon are the 3 longest active streaks. You might think it could be a very blue state like Hawaii, California, Illinois, or New York, but somehow they've all managed to do it in the past 25 years. Even extremely blue states like Maryland, Massachusetts, they've even done it far more recently than many any of these other states. So maybe we're in a new era of political polarization, and these states are not going to cross over and support a different party. But usually governor does give the minority political party a chance at gaining access to political power. We've seen Democrats in red states, Republicans in blue states. There's usually going to be at least a little bit of crossover, and one or two states are bound to have a surprise in every election. So I wonder if Washington or South Dakota will end its streak anytime soon, or maybe it'll just go on and on forever. There's been some pretty close calls over the years in both states, but for now those streaks are going to live on. So maybe we could take a look at the same thing for senators, but for now these are the last time Republicans were elected governor in all 50 states. So let me know in the comments, which states surprise you the most here, and which of these long skids do you think might be snapped next? Let me know down below. On your way out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join if you'd like to support the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.